Good evening. A new type of holiday pioneered in the south is beginning to make life better for some of the world's poorest people.
Tourists pay to travel to exotic locations, but instead of lazing on the beach, they do voluntary work. And part of the price they pay for the trip is used to finance the projects. One of the companies pioneering the voluntourism was set up by a couple from Hampshire to help victims of the tsunami in Sri Lanka.
Next year, they'll be sending holidaymakers to work in a dozen different countries around the globe. And our reporter, Kerry Swain, spent a week in Sri Lanka with a group of voluntourists. This is the first of 3 exclusive reports.
Sanding, scrubbing and painting. We were jet-lagged and soaked with sweat. It was so hot and humid it felt like a sauna. After travelling 5,500 miles, we could have been sleeping on golden beaches, slipping into turquoise seas. But we'd come to Sri Lanka to make a difference. This is our story. Sunrise and our first glimpse of Sri Lanka. We were tired. I'd left my home in Southampton almost 24 hours earlier, but we were spellbound by the sights and smells and eager to start work, because we'd come on holiday as volunteers, ready to do whatever we could to help people in this beautiful but struggling country. 40,000 people lost their lives when the tsunami struck Sri Lanka. Almost 2 years later, many of those left behind are still fighting for life. Tents the only home for some. On the way to our hotel in Galle, travelling along the west coast, we stop in Paralia, where the tsunami swept away an entire train full of passengers. The vivid artwork on the monument, built in memory of the 1,500 people who died, tells a terrible story. Day one and time to get our hands dirty. In Dangadera village, this new building will be used as a preschool for underprivileged children and as a skills learning centre where orphan children will be taught a trade: computer skills, welding, woodwork and sewing. It offers them a future beyond begging, crime and prostitution. The official opening is only days away, but there's so much to be done. The floor isn't finished, walls aren't painted, shabby little tables and chairs need restoring. 24 hours ago we were strangers. Today we're a close team, instant friends.
I just love the idea of doing some work for children in a foreign country where it's obviously so desperately needed, and Sri Lanka is a case in point because of the tsunami. But when you get here you realise that there's so much to do regardless of the tsunami.
I think during the day it is a lot harder work than, I guess, sitting around a pool with a beer. But certainly by the end of the day you get a much bigger sense of satisfaction than if you just sat about and got a sunburn.
The brighter future being offered to these children is all thanks to a husband and wife from Marchwood near Southampton. Adrian and Sarah Yalland were so moved by the suffering they saw in Sri Lanka after the tsunami, they started their own travel company. From their home they organise trips which allow travellers to combine an exotic holiday with the chance to do voluntary work. Part of the price of the holiday is ploughed back into projects. Different Travel has already invested £45,000 in Sri Lanka. These children lost a year of lessons after the tsunami, but have caught up with their studies at this displacement school run by a local woman in her own home. No physical labour is needed from the holidaymakers here, just a willingness to talk, teach and play. We enjoy a magical afternoon, but then it's time to walk the children back to the displacement camp.
This is really, it's very shocking
Virashi, her 2 brothers and both her parents all sleep in this small room. They've been sleeping here and living here for almost 2 years.
Places like this are the motivation for what caused Sarah and myself to start up Different Travel, because we just don't like seeing people living situations like this. It's avoidable. People don't need to live in this kind of poverty in this day and age. So we can't save the world, and people coming on our holidays are told that. If they think they're going to come out and save the world, they're going to go home disappointed. But what we find is that they can make a little difference, and if everybody makes a little difference, then a lot of things get done.
Our pictures can't convey the incredible heat in these shacks, the flies and the dirt. Some of the volunteers are in tears after leaving the children in these conditions. A collection is organised to buy a few essentials: lentils, rice, soap and painkillers. Back at the hotel, it's hard not to feel guilty about enjoying drinks and dinner in such lovely surroundings, and we're determined to work even harder tomorrow. Kerry Swain in Sri Lanka for Meridian Tonight.
An incredibly good idea, and we've got the second of Kerry's exclusive reports tomorrow.
Hello there, good evening to you. We start tonight with our second exclusive report from Sri Lanka, focusing on the people from our region who've left their lives here to rebuild the lives of some of the world's poorest and most desperate people.
A couple from Hampshire have pioneered so-called voluntourism, taking people on a holiday to help victims of the tsunami in Sri Lanka.
Well, our reporter Kerry Swain became a voluntourist, and tonight reports on the couple who gave up a comfortable life on the Isle of Wight to run vital community projects in a devastated country.
The classroom desks and chairs look wonderful. With bold blue paint, we volunteerists have transformed furniture we would have put on the skip at home. But the rest of this new preschool and skills training centre is alarmingly unfinished, and the opening ceremony is tomorrow. The heat and humidity is overwhelming as we work. Keith's fan, which sprays water, is a delicious treat. He's promised to leave it in Sri Lanka for the volunteers who'll follow us. The Sri Lankans sometimes appear to lack initiative and can be guilty of standing by merely watching others toil to help them. But today, mothers form a chain gang to clear rubble, and the only idle spectator is a monkey in a tree above us.
This looks absolutely horrific. You're scrubbing a filthy floor, you're filthy dirty, it's so hot. But what pleasure is there in this for you?
Oh, it's really satisfying because you can see it's taking something that looks a mess, so you can actually, it's satisfying because you can see the difference. So it is worth it. We've got the goal of tomorrow and the opening, and we want it all to look super for the children, so that just kind of keeps you going.
You look extremely hot. Is this really a holiday?
Well, this part isn't the holiday. The holiday is lying about at tea time before lunch after we've done a good day's graft and feeling quite proud of ourselves. I honestly think you wish you could do more. What we're doing here is relatively insignificant, but in the big picture, I suppose somebody's got to do it.
This floor is not being tiled.
Coordinating the operation, Heather and Steve from East Cowes on the Isle of Wight. Heather is a nurse and was project manager at St Mary's Hospital. But she and Steve decided to leave their jobs and home for a year to work for Different Travel, overseeing voluntary projects like this with successive groups of holidaymakers.
Are you just sort of, entertaining the tourists in a way like a holiday gimmick, or are they really making a difference?
Oh no, they come out here and, the choice is theirs. Primarily they come on a holiday, and if they choose to lay on the beach and swim in the pool and go sightseeing, as far as we're concerned, that's fine, because this country needs the tourists. So actually just being here, spending their money here, bringing tourism here, helps. But our people aren't like that. They know they have an idea what they're coming to. We offer them the projects. Some of them will work from morning till night every day of their holiday, helping on the projects to try and make a difference to these other people. They all go away with a sense of satisfaction.
The affectionately named Old Boys Home, more formally the Pidiagama Home for Elderly Men, is a real success story. After the tsunami, these frail men were left alone, poorly nourished and unwell. Hours of voluntary work by tourists have transformed the place. This beautifully tended garden full of things growing to eat is a perfect example of the impact of voluntourism. Everywhere in Sri Lanka I've been struck by the rubbish and the chaos all over the roads. But here, everything is clean, tidy, cared for. They're really taking a pride in things here. The founder of Different Travel, Adrian Yalland from Marchwood near Southampton, is justly proud.
So when we came along, we did a quick needs assessment, worked out what needed to be done to get the thing livable, which included completely re-roofing it, repainting it, rewiring it, just doing things like improving the access here. So we put a ramp in, for example. We've got to put the handrails in hopefully this week. Sorting out new furniture, new beds, new mattresses, putting in a new kitchen, putting in plumbed water.
Hello.
You know, they probably were suffering from clinical depression before because they were just living in, the conditions that they were living in were just woeful. Even by Sri Lankan standards, they were poor. I get a lot of satisfaction coming here. I feel like, you know, we've achieved something. And it's just, it's rewarding. It really is rewarding.
Few scars of the tsunami remain here at the beautiful Unawatuna Beach Resort where the holidaymakers stay, except perhaps the sand, which is steeply shelving where the water washed it away. But memories of that dreadful day will take a lot longer to fade. Janaka, the hotel's general manager, watched the wave flood in. He lost both his parents.
Entire sea was rising. About like 6 meters. There's a big wave coming, and my assistant manager was behind me, and I said, Adit, let's run. Eventually, I got to the hospital, went to the mortuary. There were about 700 bodies lying in it, and within the last 25, I saw my mother.
Janaka never found his father's body. But like many here, he takes some comfort from the help and support given by tourists who come all the way from England to do what they can.
Different Travel company, Adrian company, is one of, I think it's the only one I know that has been coming, and they're continuing with what they have started. Many people came, helped and gone back.
Kerry Swain in Sri Lanka for Meridian Tonight.
Kerry's final report on Meridian Tonight tomorrow evening.
Now for the last of our exclusive reports from Sri Lanka, where our reporter Kerry Swain has been on a new type of holiday which combines fun with helping others.
As Kerry discovered, the holidays are changing lives, and not just those of some of the world's poorest people.
Breakfast in our hotel, the Unawatuna Beach Resort near Galle. It's like waking in paradise here, but I've so enjoyed spending this holiday in Sri Lanka working to help victims of the tsunami. I wonder if I'll ever again be content to merely laze on the beach. Paul from Havant feels the same.
I personally really enjoy helping people and meeting people and making their lives better. And you feel good about yourself, and you're on holiday, and you're still drinking and eating and swimming in the pool occasionally.
We hadn't expected this, a terrorist attack on the naval base in Galle Harbour not far from our hotel. It's the first time Tamil tigers have struck here in the southwest. The terrorists kill only themselves, but Sri Lanka desperately needs tourists and their money, and it'll be a disaster if they're scared away.
I'm more worried for the local people. You know, at the end of the day, if my business goes under, I can go and find something else to do. But for these people, they're stuck here. This is their reality, day to day. This is their life. They depend upon tourism. The area of contention here is very small, and it's having no effect on the tourists here.
Adrian Yalland from Marchwood near Southampton founded his travel company to help victims of the tsunami, sending holidaymakers here to do voluntary work, and they're transforming lives. This mother and baby were among 9 people living in this shack. The only breadwinner, a hotel worker, could afford to buy just 1 brick a day with his tips. Adrian's company finished the family's home for them. Schools, hospitals and orphanages are among projects being worked on by different travels holidaymakers. One of the favourites is the Super Moyana home for brain-injured children run by Catholic nuns. They've needed help with redecoration and maintenance.
They brought lots of toys, and also they painted one big bedroom for the trainees and bought curtains and also mirrors and floor mats for the girls, and they were very, very happy.
It's a very special day for the volunteerists, the official opening of the new Skills Learning Centre and preschool they've worked so hard to get ready. Yesterday it still looked like a building site. Today it's a palace. The children who'll benefit from the education and later job training here look like angels.
The doctor said, no more monkeys jumping on the bed.
Absolutely marvellous. I was very moved with the candle ceremony and sharing with the kids. Well, I just never imagined something like this would be part of the holiday. It's fantastic.
Absolutely tremendous. It's a great satisfaction.
If everybody, I think, feels that they've achieved this, you know, they've done so much this week, and to see it come together now, I'm crying my eyes out.
The holidaymakers contribute towards the cost of these projects, but larger donations mean much more can be achieved. The Methodist Amateur Dramatic Society from Liphook has raised £500, which they asked me to bring out to Sri Lanka. And the money will be used to buy equipment for this skills centre so young people can learn a trade.
Holidays like this also change the lives of the tourists themselves. Nikki Muffet from Winchester travelled to Sri Lanka last year. On her return, she gave up her job and is now working with adults with learning disabilities while studying at Winchester University.
It's heartwarming, it's a fantastic thing to do, to go and help other people and change someone's life, as they did mine. It's the best thing I've ever done, and I can't wait to go back out again.
The Sri Lankans are the most gentle, courteous people I've met, and grateful for our help. Tony, in the travel business himself, is a regular visitor to Southampton.
The kind of clientele that comes are people who want to do something for humanity. I see them going back extremely very happy. I see them going back with very, very lovely smiling faces, with a tremendous amount of happiness and contentment.
It's been quite an emotional day, obviously. A few moist eyes. I think now we've done it. Brilliant. It's now handed back to the local community. It's over to them. Now it's up to them to make something of it. For us, it's onwards and upwards, next project.
Different Travel will send volunteers to over a dozen different countries next year. In Sri Lanka, we may not have changed the world, but we hope we've made it a slightly better place. Our own lives will certainly never be the same. Kerry Swain in Sri Lanka for Meridian Tonight.